Here we go. What is going on, Cover One crew? Welcome back to the show. We got a treat for y'all. It's been a minute since I've done a full-length podcast, and I'm excited to be back, man. I got a special guest for y'all. Eric Sojash, founder of Sojash Sports, super Philly fan, my guy. How we feeling, man? How we doing?
Feeling great. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's good. You see, he's a Philly fan. He's rocking Bills gear. You got to love this.
You got to have the Bills gear on when you're coming on Cover One here. Got to support, but still wearing shady, so I'm repping the Philly fan still. You know, I got to keep my roots.
I love it. He's even got Diggs in the background. You see how I convert these Philly fans to Bills fans already? You see how this is going?
Hey, I can't complain about Diggs. He helped me get a championship in fantasy football last year, so
there we go.
No complaints here.
You gotta love it. Hopefully he does it this year. We were chatting earlier, and I think, we're just gonna be doing some around the NFL because for me, always it's about, real NFL and fantasy football together is the best way to build your fantasy club. You got to know what's going on with all these teams. We were joking earlier because the Bengals just keep talking a bunch of ish all over these Kansas City Chiefs. And, we saw, what was his name? Orlando Brown. He was talking about how it's easier to block for a Joe Burrow than Patrick Mahomes. This is a couple weeks after freaking Jamar Chase is talking bad about Mahomes. What are these guys trying to do? Why do they want the target on their back?
Yeah, we come out with the Pat Who comment, which I won't deny. I had a nice chuckle about it. It was funny. It was a comedic moment for Jamar. But looks like they're following it up. It was Orlando. He was on a podcast I was listening to, and he was talking about his experience. He's actually blocked for some phenomenal quarterbacks. If you look at his career, he blocked for Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. Then he went and blocked for Patrick Mahomes, won a Super Bowl, and now he's going over to block for Joe Burrow. And he was just talking about the depth of his block steps and the difference of that. And now he feels that in this offense, he's going to be able to be more attacking. And he can be more aggressive. And he alluded to the fact that it feels like in this offense, he's going to be the best version of himself. So it was a slight shot at Mahomes saying he wasn't able to be the best version of himself, although he won a ring. So it's very contradictory, right? You just won a ring with Mahomes, but you're saying it may not have been the best version of you. I don't know. They're giving Mahomes and the Chiefs a lot of bulletin board material. And I think that's not the best thing to do. We'll see. The Bengals, they look like they like to be the aggressor. They like to talk a little trash and see if they can back it up.
I was saying I like it for the Bills' perspective because even though we're a Super Bowl contender still, we're kind of flying under the radar. Let Cincinnati do all the talking, get Mahomes under his skin so that they have the rivalry and we can just, scoot in underneath and, be those Super Bowl champions that I think we can become in 2023. But it's interesting. I still don't understand why you guys want to poke the bear. Mahomes is Mahomes. It hurts me to suggest and say he is one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the entire NFL right now. It's hard to argue. It's Patrick Mahomes, boy. And we'll see how it goes. But we got a lot of good stuff going around the league. Dalvin Cook still making noise. The Miami Dolphins, apparently reports are out that they are offering Dalvin Cook a contract. We do not know what the contract is. My speculation is 2-year, $15 million approximately, probably front-loaded early on, year one. So probably, $7.5 per year if that's the case. And he wants the $10 million like we know he wants. But nobody's going to be paying running backs. They don't even want to pay Saquon money, and you're talking about Dalvin being paid over Saquon. It's such a tough one. What do you think Dalvin's going to get this year? Do you think he's going to Miami? What are you thinking about this?
It's been real quiet around Dalvin. We can't deny that. And I'm a fan of Dalvin Cook since he came in the league, so it's hard to see this kind of go down, but it's the reality of the running back market, right? We've kind of had to accept that. I think you saw Christian McCaffrey kind of talk about it. Austin Eckler, he made his point and he had to kind of fall back and just go to work. It's just the reality of it right now. So I think Dalvin is in a position where he's saying he's not in a rush, but it doesn't look like the market's in a rush to find him either. So he's going to have to take the best thing that's offered to him. Miami looks like a great place to go. If you're going to at least get a good offer, you're going to get an opportunity, right? They have the rookie with A-Chain there, but other than that, I'm not a big Mostert fan. He's been hurt almost every year he's been in the league. So it's a fantastic opportunity for Dalvin to hit the ground running, maybe even set himself up for a third contract. If he does this 2 years, like you're saying, 2 years, 15 mil, 2 years, 17 mil, probably what he's trying to fight for on the upper end. But yeah, no, I think it looks like it's the ultimate landing spot for the other half of the Cook brothers there.
It's interesting because Dalvin's 27 years of age. And I mean, we know the prototypical age fall off for running backs usually goes in the 30s. Are we seeing an evolution? Like we talked about this many times. Are we seeing an evolution, where they're kind of neglecting the 30 years and they're saying, okay, we're pulling it back a couple years. 28 is now the new 30, where they don't want to pay these running backs. Perhaps the league needs to step in and say, well, coming out of the NFL draft, you got to pay these guys a little bit more or shorten their term, because we know first rounders get the 5th-year option. Maybe shorten that to a 3-year so these running backs can at least get some more contracts, because really this is unfair. Even we saw Melvin Gordon come out saying, it sucks being a running back. It's one of the most disrespected positions in the NFL right now, and you can't fault him. Saquon went on record saying, the cap is like $10 million for us running backs now, where he even said, I carried the team in certain circumstances, and you can't, disagree with that. Saquon definitely did. Pay these men the money. I mean, Dalvin still is one of these guys that I believe is still an elite running back in this league. And if he goes to Miami with the track team that they have put together for a Tua, this is only going to make the Dolphins that much more difficult. The defense is on the ups and ups with Jalen Ramsey. I mean, he's a hometown guy in Florida. This one makes a great deal of sense for Dalvin Cook and the Dolphins. I hate it as a Buffalo Bills fan.
Yeah, you got to hate it as a Bills fan. Just to touch on the Melvin comment, I feel like he's fumbled the ball before he even started fumbling the contract, so he should just relax a little bit on that. He's not the guy to headline those conversations. But when we go back to Dalvin, that 27 going on 28 in his prime, I still have him in that top 7 to 10 running back range in the league. It's a tough one. I definitely agree that they need to find a way to restructure their contracts. Their shelf life is so much shorter than a quarterback and a wide receiver and a tight end and even an O-lineman, that it should reflect in that initial contract coming out as a rookie. Because like we said, by 27, 28 now being the new 30, they're kind of on the decline and on their way out, where we just saw Brady play well into his 40s. So that first 5 years for a quarterback does not equate to the first 5 years to a running back. So I do think they need to look at readjusting that first 5 years in their shelf life there.
100%. And I mean, we see a guy like Bijan Robinson this year. We know he's going to carry the team in Atlanta. I mean, they're in a rebuild mode. They're saying they're playing him everywhere, Christian McCaffrey style, all over the line, all over the field. This is not okay. You use and abuse these running backs, and you don't want to pony up the dough to pay these guys the dollars. I don't like it. And it also sucks. Like you said, you brought up A-Chain's name for Dalvin going to Miami. I'm a big A-Chain supporter. I like the kid. But I mean, if Dalvin comes to the Buffalo Bills, I mean, sorry, James, I'm hedging bets on your brother. So I get where it's going to go in that respect as well.
Exactly.
So, I mean, the Jets making noise. Why is everyone talking about my division? Get out of my division. The Breece Hall situation, I mean, we all know that he's coming off the ACL. He got hurt last year in week 7, and typically we see the ACL recovery anywhere from 9 months to 12 months, if not further, depending on setback. Yes, Breece Hall's knee wasn't as bad as, say, like, even J.K. Dobbins, Javonte Williams, etc. But the situation I have right now, because the Jets are talking up Israel Abanikanda, and they're saying that he can actually contribute right away. And this is really telling for me, because in fantasy football consensus ranks right now, we see Breece Hall still going at number 11 overall. And that's crazy talk to me, because for me, we saw what JK didn't do last year. He had the setback, had to go back for some more knee surgery. And I mean, he wasn't right until like about week 8, week 10, and with Breece still having, week 7. I mean, what is going to be October? There's a full 12 calendar year. I mean, for me, full go for Breece has to be around week 4 to week 6, barring any setbacks. So Abanikanda could actually be one of these sneaky guys that nobody's talking about right now.
Absolutely. I can see Abanikanda hitting the ground and being one of those guys that Aaron Rodgers falls in love with. Right? He's the new guy in town. He's the sheriff in town. He doesn't have that connection with Breece quite yet. I'm sure they will get there, because Breece is a phenomenal talent. We've been saying that since he was in college, that was kind of a no-brainer. He was going to hit the ground and be a superstar in this league in terms of the running back position. But that knee injury, you never know, right? It can set you back. If you're Adrian Peterson, it's just one season, or if you're somebody like J.K. Dobbins, it could almost take 2 seasons to come back. You never know what that sweet spot is. Everybody heals differently. So I think, bringing in Abanikanda, and I'm impressed with how you nailed that name, by the way, there.
It took some time.
I think I had to learn from you. But having him come in and hit the ground and have that opportunity with Michael Carter in front of him, but I think he offers a little bit more size than Michael Carter. I think he offers a little bit more dynamic play than Michael Carter. He has a great opportunity there to share that backfield and see what he can do. I don't think it's going to set anything aside for Breece Hall other than just help him relax, help him recover, give him more time. The Jets have aspirations, unfortunately for all of us Bills here and the big Bills fans. It's going to be tough to see the Jets this season. They have big aspirations, and I think having Breece at his health come around week 10 and beyond is definitely within the cards for them to make a long playoff run, which is what they're trying to do with Aaron Rodgers in town.
See, and that's kind of where I'm going. I think you hit the nail on the head. Why need to rush Breece if you don't have to, especially with an Aaron Rodgers now being the quarterback for the New York Jets? You got offensive pieces. The defense is put together. You know they're going to contend with everybody that they're going up against on the defensive side. The chemistry building with Aaron Rodgers and his wide receiver core, I think, is going to be the early difference. So when the Bills play the Jets, I believe, opening week on Monday Night Football, I do believe the Bills will have the upper hand. But when they meet them again, later on in the season, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because they will build that chemistry. But if they do start off the season quick and they are winning contests and pushing for the division title in the AFC East, if I'm Coach Salah, I'm not rushing back Breece Hall whatsoever, because who knows, if Aaron Rodgers does see and taste success here in New York, who's to say he's not going to play another year? It doesn't mean necessarily he's going to retire after this year, whatever happens. I think he could play another year if things go well and he sees progression, and especially with a guy like Abanikanda who can actually, he's a big body speed back, one cut runner. I mean, you're going to have to, supplant him with Michael Carter in the pass game, but he's got such wheels that he can break free in the open field and he can make a house call, aka Travis Etienne style. And it's scary stuff what the New York Jets have on this offense. It's going to be fun to watch. That's no kidding.
Absolutely. I can see him playing a little bit of that Aaron Jones role. If he can get some of that feel from Aaron Rodgers, you can see him hitting the ground. And like you said, he's a home run waiting to happen. So it's something to look forward to. I think the Jets, they have something building there. That defense is super dominant. Everybody's high on Sauce. I think we're going a little too high on Sauce.
A little bit.
I saw a ranking today where they were literally asking, the cut keeper or play offers that we always see on PFF there. They had one where they were talking about Sauce versus Champ Bailey versus, I believe it was Dion or something. Oh. It was like two Hall of Famers in Sauce. I was like, slow down.
Come on.
Slow down. We got to pause with that, but it does show you the trajectory that he's clearly on, where you can actually have that post and people want to take it somewhat serious. So with that defense on the other end, and if Aaron Rodgers can get the offense, like you said, up to speed and comfortable, the failures that they had at the beginning of the season last year with the Packers are actually going to pay dividends, in my opinion, to what he's going to do and what he's going to bring to the Jets offense this year. So how he had the first 3 to 4 weeks where the offense seemed like they were sputtering, he didn't have the connection with the receivers. I think that lack and that, let's say, regression that they had to start last season with Green Bay, I think that's going to pay dividends. It's going to help him hit the ground running. A little more urgency. You'll see with Aaron Rodgers with his Jets receiving core this year, and they could be something. They definitely could be something. Abanikanda is going to have his opportunity there. He's not going to be relied upon heavily. So yeah, I think it's definitely a nice spot for him to have an opportunity to hit the ground and let Breece heal.
So you're not worried about chemistry building at all with these wide receivers? I mean, because I still, it's Aaron Rodgers. That's why he coveted all his guys to come to the New York Jets to say, I want some camaraderie. I want Alan Lazard. I want Randall Cobb. I want all these guys to come and follow me over. I know it's Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson can make me look like a good quarterback. There's no question. But you're not worried about chemistry at all? Because I still have my question marks early on.
Not really. I think that the early falters that they had last year is going to have him just with a serious sense of urgency. He's going to have everybody up to speed, I think. They're going to allow him to have the freedom to run the offense. You heard Hackett said it's going to be under Aaron Rodgers' freedom to do what he likes to do. So I think he's going to have everybody in positions to succeed. Garrett Wilson, looks like they've been throwing since the offseason, so I don't think he's going to have any issues with Aaron.
Fair enough, man. Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave? This is the debate between me and Eric right now.
Yeah, we've been doing this since the draft, since pre-draft. I'm still going Garrett Wilson just because of the quarterback. Because of the quarterback.
Okay. We're still gonna fight it out. I'm still going with my guy CO2, baby. He's got Derek Carr now. It's not Aaron Rodgers, but at least you know what? There's gonna be lots of fireworks. Wide receivers, man, we see a ton of wide receiver talk in the offseason right now. We're still, 4 weeks away, 3 weeks away from training camp. The NFL season is right around the corner. And breaking news, I believe Rap Sheet, dropped it on Twitter that the Patriots have re-upped Devontae Parker to a 3-year contract extension worth up to $33 million. What the hell are you doing, Bill Belichick? I am so confused with this signing. Okay, to be fair, Parker is an okay wide receiver. Is he a true number one? No. He's probably one of the best training camp preseason wide receivers I've ever seen in my life. But then when the regular season lights come on, I mean, he flashes and he disappears for 10 games, flashes again, and that's the season. What are you doing in New England? I mean, with all the DeAndre Hopkins talk, you thinking that this is going to preclude the Patriots from still going after D-Hop or what? Because this changes things for me.
I think this is a big sign that they might be out on the D-Hop talks. I felt like he was definitely going there. I won't lie. I was quietly thinking that the two best offers, well, everybody knew the two best offers were New England and Tennessee, and he was sitting back and just kind of reflecting on those two offers and not really rushing. But it felt like him and Belichick's relationship would kind of lean him towards New England and, the system, I guess the tradition, the rich tradition in New England, the Randy Moss signing there previously as that superstar receiver coming kind of off the back end of his career and then resurrecting it for a few years. You can kind of see that storyline following suit with Hopkins. So I felt like that was the landing spot for him. But this breaking news that you put on me, this is actually just hitting me right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Parker going and getting re-upped I'm mind blown. I wouldn't have done it. Clearly, that's not my position. So somebody much smarter than me is running that organization. But I've always seen Devontae Parker as someone with a ton of upside, never quite reached it. He's been in the league long enough now that we know that upside will never be reached. I feel safe saying that. Usually you're going to do that within the 3 to 5 years of being in the NFL. Anything beyond that, if you haven't kind of peaked, it's probably not coming. So I think this is probably just maybe a system thing. Maybe he fits the scheme in terms of run blocking and just playing the down the field X and a safe jump ball thrower. But yeah, that one's shocking. I'm a little bit taken back by that. I thought they were going to hang tough with that and wait for Hopkins. It didn't feel like Parker's someone you needed to rush on either. He doesn't have a big market out there that you need to like re-up him right away like that.
Yeah, I'm baffled. I still am, because even the sign of Juju to the team, okay, and we saw report Juju's dealing with some knee swelling and issues with his knee all off season long. He didn't even, I don't believe he participated in mandatory minicamp either. So that's telling as well that maybe they're a little bit afraid of Juju's health. I don't know, but. There was stipulation saying that, this doesn't necessarily take New England out of the D-Hop running, but I mean, this just complicates matters that much more. And if you are bringing in D-Hop with this wide receiver core, what is really Devontae Parker really going to give you that he hasn't, like you said, he hasn't given us throughout his NFL tenure? I mean, I'm still in on Mac Money Jones, because I still think he is a good quarterback. I really do. I think he's just got the bad rap, when Zappy came in and, the fans kind of turned on Mac as quick as they could have. I mean, I think it was just unfair. You got to provide this man some wide receiver talent. We saw what he did in Alabama. I think that Mac Jones can still compete in this league, and I think at a quite a high level, but guys like Devontae Parker are not going to get him over that threshold, and neither is kind of a Juju. It's just safety blankets rather than high-end people like DeAndre Hopkins.
I agree. Couldn't agree more. Mac is one of those guys that's never going to be the best player in your team, but he can get the best players the football at a very efficient rate. He showed that at the college level. I believe he somewhat showed that as a rookie as well. They just didn't have a ton of weapons. If you gave him another version of Jalen Waddle on that offense, I'm sure he would kill it with that type of player. But I also see the other side where he just doesn't offer a ton of upside. So he's one of those players that I feel like fans can quickly look elsewhere when things aren't rolling the way you'd like, because he just doesn't have that high ceiling. But yeah, this signing is interesting. It doesn't move the needle for him. It doesn't help Mac's long-term progression. But maybe it's one of those things that he likes having that X receiver. He's going to need someone in that position. And if the Hop situation wasn't trending towards a signing, they just wanted to shore up that position going forward. I know they still have Thornton, which we have high hopes for. He offers that deep speed threat. So they need him to get going. And then if Juju can get that knee cleaned up, it does offer that well balance. in theory, right? You have the big X jump receiver, you have the Tyquan Thornton, the speed demon that can open up the field, and then you have Juju playing the slot, getting you those first downs, moving the change. So I do see how they're trying to see it in theory moving forward, getting their system set up, but I just don't see the Devontae Parker as that guy. They need a prototype with that style, but it's just not sure if he's the one that can fill that role long term.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with the formula theory. Even with Dre running the ball in the backfield, sets up the play action pass nicely, and then you can hopefully dissect the field. But speaking of D-Hop, where the hell is he going? I think this is the conundrum everybody's talking about. He's taking his time. Dalvin's trying to say maybe we can get on the same club. Like, keep dreaming, Dalvin. That's not going to happen. But the Panthers kind of said, it's not a pressing need. I mean, people are kicking tires on D-Hop right now because he's not signing a contract. I know for a fact that he's not getting, what he wants out of his contract. Kansas City and Buffalo was the early rumor to say, could D-Hop go to one of these clubs because he wants to win as he is aging, over 30 years old now. And you're like, okay, well, clearly he doesn't care about winning. He wants his last contract, which is fine. I'm never going to, make a player feel bad for trying to get his money. But, if he wants to win a championship, obviously KC, Buffalo, I mean, whoever else, Cincinnati's obviously not going to get him. But, I mean, those are your two front runners that could get him. Is there any hope that we see a DeAndre Hopkins going to the Bills or the Chiefs? Because I'm still holding out hope that he comes to the Bills.
I think there is. I actually do think there is. I think with this re-signing of Parker by the Patriots, it does open that door again, like we were just mentioning. So I think there is some hope that he could go to Buffalo. Him just holding out and not really, you never haven't heard it from his mouth yet where he wants to go or exactly who he wants to play for, or if he's chasing rings, chasing longevity, chasing money, whatever. He hasn't really said it specifically what he wants. So I'm still in that world of let's wait and see. He might still want to jump on the championship bandwagon and get that ring. And I have heard one thing, a rumor that came out that he said, I'm not looking to take any food off anyone's plate. I believe that was the exact quote. So I believe that's in the world that I'm in, that just means I'm just coming to kind of fill the gap. I'm not trying to be the big dog or the number one guy in the room. So that does lead to offer a lot of room for him to go to teams like Buffalo, where there's a Stefon Diggs who clearly wants to be the number one, or there's other teams like Kansas City where Travis Kelce's clearly number one. He's saying, I'm not trying to go take you guys' yak yards or receptions or anything away from your bonuses. I just want to come in and fit in. So I think that does lend to him coming to one of those big teams and trying to go for a ring. Right now, how I'm seeing and reading the room is that he's playing both ends. He's seeing let's see what's out there. Hasn't been a lot of chatter, but he's weighing it. Let's see if I can go to a team where I am the leader. I have to build. They're gonna have to rely on me. And I'll take a little bit more of that pie, or I'll go to a team where the paycheck's not going to be as lucrative, but I have a legitimate shot at my first ring. He hasn't been to the playoffs, I believe, since that run with Deshaun Watson in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And they did make magic. So we all know what he can do on the biggest stages, even though he's on the back end of his career, not quite separating like he used to. But he doesn't need to separate, never needed to separate, to be honest. With the hands and the height and the ability and just the concept and knowledge that he has, I believe he can bring anything, put any team, over the edge. So if I was him, I'd be looking to jump on Buffalo. I'd be looking to jump on KC. I'd be looking to jump on even Dallas if they were still looking. I know they went for Brandon Cooks, but hey, that shouldn't be the end of them. I don't know if Michael Gallup's the answer there. So there's options out there.
It's interesting. It's very interesting, especially with Stefon Diggs and all the drama that's happening right now. We talked about it many times as well. I mean, it's okay. How do we appropriately digest this? Because I know a lot of the guys that cover one, they're saying it's a non-story at this point. Yeah, there's some things they got to iron out in the locker room, and that's fine. I mean, Diggs is a fiery guy. He wants the ball, and we were discussing. Diggs is coming off a 10 target a game average season. $25 million cap hit or whatever this year. So he's getting paid. He's getting the target share. What could be the issue that's, making Diggs feel like he's not appreciated? Is it the speculation comes into play is okay, so is the relationship between him and Josh Allen a problem? Is the relationship between him and Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator, a problem? Is he angry that the Bills are looking to bring in a guy like DeAndre Hopkins to steal the bread? There's so many, things that you want to discuss. You know what it was that made it, kind of change for me was when Sean McDermott kind of said on the first day, it's a concern that he's not here. Was he saying that for media? Maybe. I mean, because, he said and then afterward he said, he appropriately let Diggs walk that day because there was some issues. They had a good conversation, et cetera, et cetera. This whole thing for me, as much as I love a Stefon Diggs, the concerns that I have, these are one of these situations where they're almost beyond repair unless you have a phenomenal season. Like everything goes your way. You get all the open targets, you get crazy statistics, and you're in the Super Bowl. I mean, if they lose the Super Bowl, maybe, but Diggs is fine because at least they reach that plateau that they haven't had before. But if they don't even make it to the show, this has got a lot of tells to say that maybe he's just going to say, I'm sick of losing and I'm done with this.
I feel like you've hit this out of the park. I'm actually just blown away with your take here. That's exactly how I feel about it. I didn't want to upset Bills Mafia, but that is exactly how I feel about it. I feel like this might be the beginning of the end. The bromance is not a bromance anymore. I feel like it's a one-sided bromance. Josh is doing everything he can publicly to keep it together. I feel like the way things ended there, the way things were explained revolved heavily around Josh Allen minimizing what was really going on, and I think he kind of took it on upon himself, and I don't think that's been talked about enough. What I've taken from it is that the last season ended. Diggs was not happy with it. He clearly put his hands in the air, called out Josh. They went their separate ways in the offseason, and it's strange to feel that. I don't know this is a fact, but to feel that they didn't communicate much over the offseason. That's kind of the feeling you get because when he returns after the offseason, then there's this separation, and they say they need to have a conversation. And then once they have the conversation, they come out and tell the media, okay, now we've had a conversation. Things are trending in the right direction. It's like, you guys couldn't have a conversation for the last 4 months? Like that's the thing that doesn't add up. So that's where I feel like this is just another Terrell Owens, Donovan McNabb situation, or, is it just another situation where these, I don't like to use the word diva and throw it out there, but where these high-priced receivers, high expectation receivers and quarterbacks get into a bit of a conundrum. Now, Josh, I give him all the respect and all the props in the world. I think he wants to handle this the best way. I think he wants to see this through. I just don't know if he can, because like you just laid out so eloquently, it's going to take a perfect season for this and not to occur again. And I feel 100% like you. If things trend in the right direction, you win all the games you're supposed to win. You might lose a game here and there, but everyone's okay with losing the games you're supposed to lose, or things ideally don't work out. But you win the games you're supposed to win, you win the division, you make the playoffs, and you go on a deep playoff run, things will be great for Stefon. He gets his 115 catches, etc. But if he's somewhere in 75 catches and you guys are hovering over 500 mid-season, and there's no way you're not going to hear something from him. I can't see it being a reality. He's kind of set the precedence for that. So now we kind of are all just kind of going to sit back and wait to see what happens. It's kind of rough for Josh. I feel bad for him. I think he's going to try to handle as best he can, and hopefully he can keep it together.
And I mean, in mini camps, we did see it kind of change course as well. They were showing, highlights of Diggs and Josh doing their handshakes and, joking around and trying to rebuild that camaraderie that we know the bromance was there. And maybe, we're seeing it from the outside in, but I mean, we've seen both sides of it now. And you're kind of saying they were too damn close before, like best buds, like brothers, and to see it fall off the way it did last year, and I get it, man. Guys hate losing, and Diggs is no different. He's one of these guys that he wants to win, and that's why he's in Buffalo. They got a team, and he's even come on record saying, I just don't know what else we need to do. I believe it was on the Barbershop show, the podcast, and I mean, he's saying, I don't know what else we got to do to get over the hump. We brought in the players, we got the quarterback, we got me. We're doing everything we require, and we just can't get over this damn hump. That drains on a guy. Eventually, you're tired. You're tired of not doing it when you should be going to the dance every single year, at least get one of them. That way you can at least get your one ring. But it's one of these situations that the frustration, even if the bromance does come back, the frustration may boil over for Diggs to say change of scenery is just a must because we just can't do it here.
Yeah, I can see that, but I wouldn't agree with his assessment, though. I feel like he needs to channel that energy elsewhere. I do understand the frustrations of losing, but you are on a great team. You are getting the ball. You are excelling every season. You're in the mix every season. The grass is not going to be greener. It was greener from Minnesota. You've transitioned from Minnesota to Buffalo, and it's worked out excellent this far, but I don't believe if he keeps this attitude that the grass is going to continue to be greener. I think he needs to channel that frustration and energy into just continuing to build with what they've done here. Adding Kincaid is actually going to help them in terms of their balance, of the offense, more targets, more, which is going to take away from Diggs now,
sure,
but it's going to help the offense. So I hope he's on the mindset of winning and helping the offense more than the mindset of him personally helping the offense.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting dynamic for the Bills Mafia, and I'm telling you, I'm excited and a little bit scared and worried at the same time. But Diggs, you're our boy. It's going to be good, so just don't fail us. So pivoting over to those Denver Broncos, I don't know, man. This has got to be like team coach speak or something. I was almost floored when I read this report saying that some in the building believe Tim Patrick is the best football player on the team's receiving room. And I'm like, holy ish, man. I almost swore there. That's not good. But I mean, you got Courtland Sutton, you got Jerry Jeudy. I like Tim Patrick. I'm not saying it otherwise, but to go as far to say he's the best wide receiver in the room, I don't know, man. Someone's smoking something over there in Denver.
EP2. So I'm not going to do any R. Kelly references here. No, but Tim Patrick, that is
you get us banned with R. Kelly, man.
That's interesting. That's an interesting one. But there's got to be some truth to this. This is the second season we've been hearing this with this same core of wide receivers, that he's been a standout in the camp, standout in preseason last year as well before he got hurt. He was coming along. So there's got to be some truth to it. I believe Tim Patrick's 28 or 29 years old. He's definitely up there. So I'm not too sure how much he can offer other than like a 1 or 2 season if he's healthy. But for me, what this really says is that Courtland Sutton needs to be worried. That's what I'm reading between the lines. Jerry Jeudy, I believe his position is cemented. I believe his role is cemented. He's an elite route runner. We've all known that since his days at Alabama. He just needed to stay healthy and get an opportunity with this offense to go. And I believe he started to do that when he was healthy last season. You saw the evolution there, and I think he's going to take a greater step this season. So I believe Jerry Jeudy, he doesn't have to worry about this. This is more to speak with the role of Courtland Sutton moving forward. And is he going to have that same alpha role going forward this season? In my opinion, he had a bit of a letdown last year. He didn't take that leap that we all expected. Granted, the entire offense had a letdown last year, so it's not all on Sutton. This is definitely not to suggest that it's all on him. But this, to me, says that Tim Patrick could be coming for some of his playing time and some of his touches. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you're not far off because we know what Tim Patrick can do on the field, but is he – okay, I guess the biggest problem that I have with this Denver Broncos offense right now is who is the wide receiver one? Are we saying Judy's the wide receiver one? Because I know a lot of people want Sutton to be that guy because he is the big body type wide receiver. The NFL is changing. It's morphing into it doesn't matter your size. Like, look at this past draft where we see a lot of guys that are under the even 5'10" foot threshold in the Flowers, the Downs, the Addison. Well, he's 5'11", but I'm sitting here telling you, like, under 6 foot wide receivers, in previous years don't get a lot of traction, where they're kind of changing that script just a little bit with the smaller dudes that can actually run routes, separate properly, and got wheels and playmaking ability for days. with that said, I'm a fan of Courtland Sutton. I am, but I've never been, a huge, supporter to believe that he is a true wide receiver one in this league. So the fact that they're saying, because Tim Patrick's got height for days as well. He's almost same size, if not taller than what Courtland Sutton. I believe Patrick's 6'4". So they do like the ability. He was a touchdown getter. He was a touchdown machine. And I'm with you. I think that Jerry Jeudy, even though amidst all the, potential trade discussion in the offseason saying they want to get him off, there was no way that they were moving him unless it was for 2 first-round picks. Like, there's no way you were moving that for anything less than that. But signing a Courtland Sutton to the contract that he did receive, I always found that to be baffling, and that was a John Elway decision, and that's why John is no longer with the team. So it is open season. Who can be the bigger baller? And if Tim Patrick does it, the rating has got to be on the wall for Courtland Sutton. I completely agree.
Yeah, and I think also if you want to just piggyback on the conversation here, Tim Patrick's name doesn't bode well for ticket sales and jersey sales.
True.
He's got 2 first names. When you have 2 first names, nobody's buying those jerseys and screaming your name. It doesn't sound like Abanikanda, right? It's just Tim Patrick. So I not to make fun of the guy, but I feel like it just kind of makes him feel like a dull receiver where you're not really paying attention to what he's capable of doing. You're more paying attention to like the name and the style. But if he's able to be healthy, he might turn that TP into something.
It's the TP. You don't even have to call him Patrick. Just call him TP, and you're good, man. But other receivers, TB, we got Treylon Burks. I mean, we were big supporters. I know I was. I know you were. Coming out of the draft process when he was drafted the previous year, I mean, everyone was talking all the crap about the asthma problems. He wasn't putting in a lot of effort, blah, blah, blah. He is a dog and a playmaker, and in an offense that was not set up for him to succeed last year, even with a Ryan Tannehill. I mean, there was a reason why they got rid of A.J. Brown and put trust in a Treylon Burks. And I love the fact, especially for fantasy football purposes, that his name's not getting a lot of cachet right now because that's good for value, baby. Hint, hint, mark that down for y'all because if he does make some plays in this camp, in this preseason, his name is going to go up these boards a lot. But again, this offense, Tennessee's an interesting, enigma for me right now because I believe they don't even know what they want to be at this point. They were looking to shop a Derrick Henry. They wanted, Tannehill to be done with so they can move on with the younger quarterbacks. You got a Malik Willis. You drafted Will Levis. What are you? Do you want to rebuild, or is this the last kick at the can, to try to, do something in the postseason? But they're talking that, Treylon Burks is playing at a different speed this offseason with the workouts. And I, for one, am not surprised because I think Treylon Burks is going to be potentially one of the better young wide receivers in this league.
Absolutely. I'm on board with that. Treylon Burks, I'm a Treylon Burks believer. I believe he's got the runway laid out just to take off. The guy has great, phenomenal deep catchability. We saw what he did in college. Handoffs, screens. He can kind of do it all. I thought he translated well over to the NFL, considering he had very poor quarterback play, an offense that wasn't consistent whatsoever, and him being really the only target in the wide receiver room. Robert Woods wasn't what we expected in Tennessee. That didn't really work out. There was no really other receivers that garnished any potential or any attention. The tight end, he came along, the young tight end came along, but other than him, it was really just Treylon Burks' show. And I believe he's going to take that to another level this year. And like you said, there's no one talking about it. And I was actually one of the people that was happy that no one was talking about it. It's perfectly aligned for him to have a phenomenal wide receiver one type season, especially if you can get the quarterback play. And yeah, just to piggyback off that, if we're going to be giving away some tips here for Dynasty, I think he's a phenomenal pickup because if they ever get that quarterback, you never know what Treylon Burks' ceiling could be. And I believe he does have the ability to have a very high ceiling.
I'm right there with that because if you're right now, the Treylon Burks' day is trade him all day long trade for him, I should say, all day long in Dynasty because if Will Levis is the guy, and I got my knocks on a Will Levis, I mean, but you got to talk about what you can't teach for young quarterbacks, and that's a cannon of an arm, and that pass velocity is reminiscent of the Dan Marino, John Elway. It just fires out of the arm like a cannon in the chute, and if Treylon Burks gets any benefit from these young quarterbacks, and I'm not even to say, Malik Willis can't do it because he's got a cannon of an arm also. It's going to be a very interesting battle at the quarterback position when Tannehill is eventually gone from this club. But it's almost like, depending on what they do with this team, Derrick Henry's future in doubt. He's going to be on that threshold of 30 years old. They're going to likely want to move on. The contract is still very large. And then you got, young running backs in the set. You drafted the Tajay Spears kid, and then now you still got Hassan Haskins. So maybe they go to double back sets without a Derrick Henry. Now you still have the formidable play action pass. And then you got Treylon Burks being your quote-unquote A.J. Brown type player, where the only issue I have with Tannehill, the efficiency rates are going to have to be extremely high. So he's going to see, anywhere 95, 105 targets, 64 catches, 1,002 yards, that type of season. So he's got to uplift his fantasy stock for fantasy purposes, especially in the red zone. So he's got to at least capitalize with those 7 to 9 touchdowns to be, that fantasy relevant player.
Agreed. No, I 100% agree with that take. It just depends on which quarterback is going to lead this offense. There was a recent report that Malik Willis, he's felt slighted and he's taken a step further. I thought Malik Willis's name was just nowhere to be heard when it came to the future of the Tennessee Titans quarterback position, but it sounds like he's still in the mix. So it's going to be an interesting offseason to see who kind of emerges from there. And one thing that I've actually taken note of, there was that rumor in the offseason that Derrick Henry was going to get traded to the Eagles of all teams. And I've recently heard that actually only fell through because of the rumor being blown up all over Twitter. And then something happened in the back end and things fell through. You can go check that out. It's real reporting there. There's something that trade sounded like it was 100% legit. There was some real truth to it. And then something happened on the back end with the rumor coming out and the trade kind of fell apart and they went separate ways. Now, if that is true, that screams rebuild in Tennessee. We really, like you said, we have no idea what this offense or this team is trying to be. You're trying to trade your best player. We're not really sure what's going on at the quarterback position. You drafted another quarterback this year after drafting a quarterback last year. That leads me to believe this. The NFL is wide open this year. Everybody believes that they can be something. If they aren't what they expect to be in the first 6 weeks, why wouldn't they consider going in that direction?
I agree.
Doing a subtle tank job and looking at Drake or Caleb in next year's draft.
Draft a third QB in 3 consecutive. Holy shit.
Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they did it already?
Damn.
And the 2 that they got, I'm pretty sure there's a consensus around the league that they aren't 100% sold on either of those 2 guys, even though they haven't had the opportunities yet. Hey, by week 6, 7, if things are kind of going in that direction, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Just looking at the landscape of the NFL, there's really only the Arizona Cardinals that everyone's talking about doing a tank job, and that's it. So if you might be that other team that's struggling, there's 2 quarterbacks that look golden right now. And like we said, Treylon Burks is one dynasty quarterback away from being God knows what. Like, I'm big on him. Like, I don't want to throw out comparisons, but DeAndre Hopkins was in a desert of a team, nothing going on, crap quarterbacks, and he was still able to produce at a higher rate than we're seeing Treylon do. But, once he got that quarterback and stuff, that elevation comes along, the runway is there. There's no one there to take those targets away from him, so I like it.
It's good, man. Trade for Treylon is going to be the new T-shirt that I'm going to be making with hashtags. But staying with these QBs, I mean, there's lots of buzz happening about these QBs, and the 49ers situation is one that's giving me headaches and, giving me more gray hair every single day because I don't know what the hell. I was always a supporter, still am, of Kyle Shanahan's offensive pedigree. I think he still is one of the better offensive minds in this league. He's aging clearly right in front of our eyes. But this Brock Purdy situation, so the Trey Lance, Brock Purdy situation, I love how everybody is dogging Trey Lance right now, only because I think you're wrong. I think you're super wrong on what Trey Lance could still be in this league. You don't lose your job because of an injury. It was just an unforeseen situation where he broke his ankle or his leg, and that was it. And then Brock Purdy comes in, this 6th-round pick from Iowa and Iowa State. And, I mean, everyone's like, who the hell's Brock Purdy? I knew who he was, and I wasn't expecting that much. And then, something just magical happens where he finds potentially the next Tom Brady in the 6th round. But then he goes for Tommy John, the UCL surgery, and rumor has it he's heading to Jacksonville to go and throw with a ortho specialist, to see where the arm is at. I mean, okay, Tommy John, if it's full-blown surgery, you're gone in baseball for, 18 months? Football's a little different. It's anywhere from 8 to 12. We really believe that Brock Purdy's going to be throwing the football, and then you see media reports saying that Sam Darnold is ahead of Trey Lance at this point. I'm shocked and baffled because do we really think Trey Lance just isn't this good? I don't believe it.
He's one it's so hard to read, right? You're still on the belief side. You're still giving him the upside. I'm kind of one of those that's in the middle. I have fallen down. I have kind of regressed some of my expectations. Like you said, you should not lose your job based on injury. That is not fair whatsoever. But that is reality. That does happen. And when you're a player that hasn't even shown your capabilities yet, not to your own fault, but just being super young, not playing in the highest divisions, and then getting drafted early, and then being injured when your opportunity comes. It's just really hard to judge. It's really hard to see what your ceiling is going to be. Everyone said the one thing that you needed was the opportunity to play. Like the one thing that Trey needed was to show the opportunity that he can do this at the highest level. He had all the intangibles. He just didn't have a lot of tape. He just didn't have a lot of real live game throws against real live defenses, right? So we needed to see that at a higher clip. Unfortunately, the injury removed that from us. With Kyle Shanahan being in that window where the gray hairs are coming, but he's still young. He's going to have a long coaching career, but there is the sense that he's in a very small window where it needs to be done in the next year or two, because they've been knocking on this door for the last 4 or 5 years and just haven't kicked it down. So with him feeling that sense of urgency, I can see him doing something drastic and moving on from Trey prematurely. Even though they gave up all those assets. And I think they will regret it in the long term, not necessarily because Trey just takes off and makes them regret it, just in the sense of all that they gave up and now them kind of pinning themselves into a corner and wanting to get everything instantly instead of going with the original plan, which was, we know what we moved up to get. We know he needs opportunity to grow. Let's slowly bring him along and let him grow. That plan looks like it got thrown in the trash once Brock kind of surprised everybody and did what he did.
And you can't fault it because Brock did play damn well, but are we honestly believing that his play could have, if barring the injury, of course, the team around him is absolutely stellar and stacked. He's got weapons on both sides of the ball that even if he makes a mistake, the defense will get him the ball back. He's got guys like Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. You can't sugarcoat what he has on the field. But do you really, is he anything more than a game manager to me? Yeah, he's made some great passes. He's got mobility. So you're kind of feeling like he's in that Alex Smith category where he's good enough to win with a good system and team around him. Is he ever a Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady-esque type of quarterback? I don't see it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll eat crow on this all day long. But then you hear even Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers might be in on the Kirk Cousins sweepstakes if the Vikings let go of him next season. Why does Kyle Shanahan complicate things for himself? Just pick a side and go with it, man. You're killing me. You're killing me, Kyle.
I haven't heard that one, but that's too much. He needs to calm down.
Calm down.
Just pick one guy, Kyle. Your system is perfect, so just pick one guy and let him perfect it and grow with it. Once you get the quarterback to marry with the system, you're not going to have to keep searching. So I wouldn't be in on the Kirk Cousins things if I was him. He's got the quarterbacks in his room, right? He really does. If he has to go long term with Purdy, he's got the guy that looks like he understands your system. If he understood it as a rookie, I'm sure he's going to understand it in his mid-20s and going and beyond, right? He's only going to get better at the terminology and spitting it out and quicker at the reads. So he's definitely a system quarterback per se on what he's shown. And if it's not the system quarterback that you want to go forward with, then you have the other guy in your room that is the phenomenal athlete. So you don't really need to search elsewhere. You just need to develop what you have. Don't get too complicated. Don't get too much in a rush. I know you do have a great roster around you. Since we're talking about the 49ers, I do want to give a shout out to Ayuk. I think he's going to have a heck of a season. But he does have some weapons around him that you don't have to rush it. If I'm Kyle Shanahan, just relax. Maybe use the urgency to give other people reasons to offer you some trades, because you need to get one of these quarterbacks off your hands and get some capital back.
Get some picks back. And I'm with it. And okay, fine. Brock, you impressed. I'm not going to sit here and bash your name anymore. But any other younger quarterbacks, we're talking Jordan Love. He's, already talking some smack to the Bears fans. You got to love it. But, Romeo Dobbs speaking the good graces of young Love. And, there's another T-shirt. Young Love, it's coming. I'm telling you, man, I'm going to make my own business soon, man. It's going to be good. He's saying he can do the exact same things Aaron Rodgers was doing. And here's the thing, I don't want to sit here and say that's lies, because we've seen this happen before. The Brett Favre situation, a lot of downers on the Aaron Rodgers, take over, and then look what happened and transpired. You learn best from the best, that or steel sharpens steel, iron sharpens iron, or steel sharpens steel, whatever the phrase is. This is the situation. Is Love ready to go? I truly think he might be. And for my mistake, I traded Jordan Love this offseason in my Dynasty League for handsome return, but I'm almost feeling like I could be regretting that, because this offense does have a boatload of youth. They still got good running backs. The offensive line has always kind of been in shambles, still kind of is. But you have such supportive pieces here with Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, the rookie Reed that they just drafted from Michigan State, and then, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. You have guys you can lean upon with Jordan Love. I mean, what are you thinking? You feeling some love for Love? Because I'm in it. I think I'm in it.
I think I think there's love in the air. I think that we are getting a little bit of the, how should I put it, some of the Romeo and Juliet-esque. Right? There's an essence in the air where you hear Romeo talking about his love for Jordan Love. I don't know how much of it is reality. Now, people do look good in shorts. People do look good in camp, especially when they've been sitting down for 3 years. That's over 1,000 days of watching Aaron Rodgers perform right in front of your eye, within his arm's reach. So I think he definitely soaked up exactly what he needed to soak up. I believe Jordan Love is going to be a very good quarterback for the next 3 to 5 years. Now, is he going to play on the Rodgers level? We need to pump those brakes. I think, that Love is a little bit he's smoking some of that good stuff over there, Romeo, and you got a little bit too much love for Jordan. But I do see where he's coming from, because in spots, I bet we're going to see the exact same mechanics. In spots, we're going to see the exact same, I shouldn't say the exact same touch and arm strength, but stuff that's going to be reminiscent. Whereas a fan sitting back, as Green Bay fans, they're going to sit back and be like, wow, that looked exactly like Aaron Rodgers. But when you get the entirety of a 17-game season, and you get the entirety of an offseason, you get the entirety of 2 seasons, 3 seasons, then we'll be able to have a real conversation. Is it, where you can say things like what Romeo's trying to say with, I don't see a drop-off. We'll see if there's no drop-off after 17 games and 2 seasons of being perfect. That's what Aaron Rodgers brought to the Green Bay Packers for a hell of a long time. So I pump the brakes with those types of comparisons, but I do understand where he's talking about. 3 years of watching a guy play over 1,000 days, you're going to, osmosis is great. He's going to take some of that in, and we're going to see some of that perform this season.
And the biggest argument I always put to younger quarterbacks always is the tape effect. How much tape is on you that teams can dissect and break down? And there's not a lot for Jordan Love. So does he come out the gates firing because they don't necessarily know how he's going to attack the field? Absolutely. Within the first 3 weeks, we could see, great plays, and everyone's going to be all over the hype of Love. And then the tape comes into play. They figure out how to game plan against them. They, send blitz packages, confusing coverages to, maximize interception ratio. It's going to come. And that's where I think you got to pump the brakes when it comes to the drop-off comments from Romeo. It's going to be hit and miss from time to time. You're going to see the ups and swings, the ups and downs. It's going to happen. But I do believe that, LaFleur is a smart enough guy that he's going to manufacture ways to make Jordan Love successful in those short passes. He's got a speedy-ass wide receiver in Watson that, a 5-yard hook and a 5-yard slant, and he's off to the races, inflating Jordan Love stats. And I think that's kind of what we might see, a little bit of a game manager script, but then, try to let him take the top off from time to time, get that confidence, and then see where Green Bay can go after that.
Definitely going to be interesting. I don't remember a team in recent history with this young of a core. When you really think about the wide receiving core, the tight end, and the quarterback, it's almost video game-esque how young they are. From Watson, Doubs, the rookie Reed now, like we were just mentioning, and then I believe it's Musgrave that they drafted to play tight end. Like, this is an extremely young starting core in all those key pieces. So I'm very interested to see how they're going to gel together, how long it's going to take them to get acclimated, and how that's going to turn around for them. It's
going to be an interesting season. It could either go. I don't think there's no in between for this Green Bay Packer team. I think it's either up to the moon or it's going to be down to the floor, and I don't really see much in between in that respect. But a team on the rise is those Chicago Bears. Let's finish this thing off with this one. Justin Fields. And we've been at each other's throats with Justin Fields. You didn't even have Justin in the top 10 in your ranks. I'm still a believer. I think that Fields... Okay, so the Ohio State love and crush is mine because I was huge with the Buckeyes. Loved when it was Fields, Olave, Wilson, and then even with Stroud, and then JSN, et cetera, et cetera. I love how they build, and to me, Justin Fields was just set up for failure. And I think beyond any other quarterback that we can think of in recent memory, even a guy like Kyler Murray, et cetera, Fields had nothing. They completely tore down this offense. Offensive line was in shambles. He had nobody. And I mean, the changeover in the coaching staff, 2 systems in 2 years, like the system or the whole situation, I should say, was not good for Fields' progression and growth. And he still said, the hell with y'all. I'm going to still put up points with my legs. And then everyone defaults back to saying, well, he's going to be like another Lamar Jackson early on. He can't throw. I think that, at this point of the career, and no knock on Lamar, I think that it's at this point of Justin Fields' career, I think he is a better passer than what Lamar was at this point. And we'll see how that ends up being with both these guys later on down their careers. I think that, with all the receiver additions, DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, fine, he's making waves to get his ass out of there. But you got receiving weapons. Mooney coming back from the injury. I'm in on Justin Fields this year. I think he's going to explode.
I got to give you that. You were always on Justin Fields. You were always high on Justin Fields. I've always been a little skeptical of the Ohio State quarterbacks until Stroud. I might be a little higher on Stroud than I've been on the previous Ohio State quarterbacks. But just the tradition of them coming out, they haven't really hit the ground running and haven't translated into the NFL as high-end quarterbacks. Probably a lot of that had to do with just being so much better than the competition they face in college. Justin Fields, I felt like, was going to be somewhat of a victim to that. We just talked about how great Garrett Wilson is and Chris Olave, the conversation we will never let down.
Nope.
He had both those guys mixed with the guy that everyone is saying, and we agree, is better than both of those guys. So when you have 3 receivers at that end, Jackson, Smith, and Jigba coming out, going to hit the Seattle Seahawks and just dominate, it's hard to decide if that quarterback is, leaning on the talent or is he actually as good as it shows. And because Justin wasn't necessarily your traditional pocket passer or your traditional first read, second read, third read passer, I was skeptical. I'm skeptical. But as you can hear, I'm stumbling over my words because that skepticism has to go away. I don't really have too much negative to say anymore. I use Justin Fields to win my fantasy football leagues. He was phenomenal last year. I was so happy I got him in 2 or 3 leagues off the free agency wire. He was unbelievable. What he did, like you said, I actually believe he's a clip up from Lamar Jackson in terms of his passing ability. I believe that his offense was quite a stage behind Lamar Jackson's. So when you look at his running ability, it's hard to even say he's a lesser runner than Lamar because he's running behind a lesser talented group than Lamar got to. He went over to Baltimore and we knew what type of running offense Lamar was going to have, right? Mix it with his running ability, no brainer. Chicago was kind of it's horrible, right? So for him to escape sacks, break sacks, and then take off for these 1,000-yard seasons of running it's quite impressive. They're going to scale some of that back this year. They brought all those weapons in that we were talking about. If Chase Claypool can hit the football field and get off the runway, then we can maybe see him do some things.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, props to the big boy. You're a good-looking guy, but
there you go.
Let's get on the field. Let's catch some touchdowns. Let's get some touchdowns. This is a real offense here. You can fit into that offense very well. I think Justin Fields, you've convinced me. I'm on board. I think we're going to see that second trajectory leap here that we've been waiting on. And I'm not sure if he's going to be a top 10 quarterback in terms of overall play when you rank quarterbacks in overall play. But in terms of fantasy, I got him way up there.
Yeah, 100%. And with the rankings that I was suggesting earlier was in real NFL terms, not fantasy football terms. But okay, and I won't lie about what he didn't do well because you got to be always unbiased. And some of those passes were god awful, and we're not going to sugarcoat that. Completely missed his reads, completely overthrew his wide receivers. Not progressing the field well, and that's growing pains. We saw the same kind of crap when it came to a Trevor Lawrence, and look what he had to deal with Urban Meyer. So his rookie year, this was this past year with Doug Peterson. And you got to understand, when you change over offensive coordinators or coaches, early on within the first 3 years of a young man's progression, do you know how that stunts somebody's growth? Especially at the quarterback, running backs and wide receivers, they can probably adapt a little bit easier because they know what they have to do. You're learning an entire new system behind center that you got to dissect on with split seconds, bang, bang, and you're changing it on a young man who just got in the league, who was, I don't even want to say he was raw as a passer. I think there was improvements that needed, but I liked his passing aptitude coming out of college. His arm is very strong, and he's got the rushing upside. I mean, with all the additions the Bears have done and trying to improve, there is, it's not out of the question for me to see these guys contend for the NFC North title.
I can see it. Bear down this season. 2023, it's time to bear down. They've made some good moves. I don't know how many wins it's going to translate to, but it's definitely going to be one of those teams that's fighting for the division there, depending on how much the Packers come back to the pack as well now with Jordan Love leading them. I can see it. So Justin Fields, get on board, everybody. And I think he's going to be a must-watch. That's going to be the funnest part about him. If you're not really sold on the arm and on the progression reading and all the traditional stuff, you're definitely gonna be sold on just turning on the TV and enjoying his highlights. Just get ready for that to be another level of excellence with DJ Moore in the offense, and with the offense taking another step forward together. I just think Justin Fields is a phenomenal talent in terms of his abilities, his escapability. He's been a fun watch, and I can't wait to see him do it again.
I know Detroit Lions fans are probably cursing me right now because they want that division, and they're going to be tough too. And I've been supportive of the Lions, so I mean, before you get into the hate comments, I've been supportive of these Detroit Lions. But nevertheless, I mean, let's call it a day. I mean, this is Eric Sojash. Go follow him on Twitter. I vouch for this guy, man. His football stuff is unbelievable. We chop up stuff all the time via text. It's been a while since we've done a podcast together, man. This was fun. We got to do this again.
It was awesome. Yeah, we got to do this again. Let's keep it going. I had a great time. Thanks, man. Let's do it.
Awesome, man. Nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments. Give me your thoughts. Anything you guys want to talk about, the Dalvin, the D-Hop, Justin Fields, Trey Lance. You think my takes are crap? Throw it in the comments, man. I'm definitely going to come back at you. We can discuss it. But we'll see you next time. I am out.